in other places, the damage is done, and it's up to us to recreate the habitats that are now destroyed. Shawn Kline reports from Barataria Bay.
Mother Nature's got a good way of trying to recover, but it's slow. It's been very slow out here. You still have all of this oil that's out here that needs to be picked up.
PJ Hahn is with Plaquemines Parish Coast Zone Management. Nearly all of the oil that came to Louisiana came here, near Barataria Bay.
All this area is dead. Still has some oil down in there.
The oil is a natural part of the Gulf Coast ecosystem, but when it's hit with a sudden burst of crude, like in 2010, the effects are more dramatic.
We took a survey of this island. Right now it's less than an acre. It was over 4 acres during the oil spill.
This island, a rookery for Louisiana's brown pelicans. The mangroves that grow here are the bones keeping its structure, but when the crude hit, the mangroves began to disappear.
Mangroves are essential for the birds to nest in. Without the mangroves, the nesting obviously is taken out.
Now every tree is reserved on this small island by rare or endangered birds. Without immediate action, Hahn says this island could disappear overnight.
We don't have time to wait for BP. We don't have time to wait for the NERDA funding.
Hahn and Plaquemines Parish government has taken it upon themselves to rebuild what's been lost. The parish approved funding to rebuild islands like these, growing new mangrove trees and expanding the habitat.
The main thing that we want to do right now is build a barrier around that island and protect the island from future storms.
Not just protection from future storms, but potential disasters like the one the Pelican State is still recovering from today. In Plaquemines Parish, Shawn Kline, KATC, TV3.
KATC's Shawn Kline tonight investigates searching the coast for evidence of the largest oil spill in history.
We still have a lot to deal with, and there's still a lot of oil. You have 1 million barrels of oil still out there that's unaccounted for.
Where is all that oil? You just have to know where to look. PJ Hahn with the Plaquemines Parish Coast Zone Management takes us out to Bay Jimmy, an area still closed to fishing and shrimping for one dark reason.
This by far was the hardest hit area out of the oil spill in general.
And the oil, it's still there. Not just in the ground, but the sheen still visible on the surface. And it's not just in the marshland. This is one of the barrier islands that BP supposedly cleaned up, but as you can see, 2 years later, tar balls are still washing ashore. Not just 1, 2, but another one right here. And you can see the difference between tar balls and sand. The tar balls are very sticky and slimy, while sand, it can easily fall through your hands.
As the wave energy develops in a storm, it'll pick this stuff up and break it up out there and move it up on shore.
92% of the crude disaster made its way into Louisiana. BP stated itself the disaster cleanup is not complete and crews are forced to wait for the okay from the U.S. Coast Guard.
We are still under the Coast Guard's guise, so they tell us when to clean, how to clean, and sometimes when not to clean.
But finding where to clean is a challenge itself.
What you see here one day may be gone the next day. It didn't disappear, it's just being moved around by the system that's out here.
A system slowly recovering from the largest man-made spill ever recorded. In Plaquemines Parish, Shawn Kline, KATC, TV3.
Where is the oil? What does it look like? How does it affect us here in Acadiana? 2 years later, questions do remain about the oil spill, the largest crude disaster in history.
KATC's Shawn Kline looks at the impact it has today on the place we call home.
Louisiana's barrier islands, once thriving with life, now appears a wasteland.
There's all kinds of dead stuff along here.
From fish to birds to the mangrove trees the pelicans nest in, they're all dying. Plaquemines Parish Coast Zone Manager PJ Hahn.
And is this normal? Is it not normal? Are there higher numbers than normal? That's something that we don't know because we're not out here every day.
But is it a result of the circle of life, or is it something else? The truth is, there are still a lot of questions about the effects of the crude disaster. Take seafood, for example.
Fish with lesions, shrimp with no eyes.
Elizabeth Cook has seen it, but Louisiana's seafood is also the most tested seafood in the world since the spill. And according to Dr. Don Bosch of the President's Oil Spill Commission, it all checks out.
There's no evidence at this point that I'm aware of that the seafood resources, the fish and shellfish, have been damaged.
Damage to the coastline is also up for debate. LSU's Dr. Ed Overton says oil is a naturally occurring substance in the Gulf, and the marshlands are recovering at a rapid pace.
Is that buried oil causing our environment to be horribly degraded? No. Right? Is it there? Yes.
But Hahn paints a different picture.
It's actually showing we're driving on land.
The most current global positioning maps show evidence of coastal erosion, and in that marshland, oil.
That oil is being picked up during high tide, like right now, comes in here, sets down on this marsh, kills this marsh, and the cycle just continues.
You can see the distinct difference between the oil up here and the mud down here. As you can see, the mud easily breaks apart while the oil does not. The stuff's attaching itself to the root system around here, and that's what's killing this marshland.
It's like laying a piece of plywood on your yard and coming back to it a week later. When you lift the plywood up, all the grass would be dead.
This loss of wetlands isn't happening everywhere, but very little can be done to stop it. Coastal experts say barrier islands and wetlands play a vital role in protecting places like New Orleans, Morgan City, and even places closer to Lafayette from storm surges. Without these islands, that protection is gone. But the jury is out on whether this land is disappearing naturally or due to some other crude causes. In Plaquemines Parish, Shawn Kline, KTC, TV3.